And now we go on to our next speaker. I will call Mr. Ajay Piramal on the dais, and he will be speaking on business as a service to God. Thank you so much, and we really look forward, Ajayji, for your enlightening talk.
Radhanath Swami Maharaj, Nupur, you've been very generous in your introduction as always. And friends, it's really a challenge to speak when Maharaj is present in the room and after he has also spoken. So it's a double challenge today. So Maharaj spoke about the road, the GPS, and the road to it. But he said we still have to start going on the road. So I've only just begun. The destination is still a while to go. But I want to begin with a story about Gandhiji. You know, Mahatma Gandhi has been a lot in the press now because this was the 100 years of the time that he landed here in India. This is the time when Gandhiji was in South Africa. He was practicing as a lawyer. He had just emerged, he's still in his early days as a lawyer, not well known. He was not a great lawyer also, frankly. But yet he had he decided very early on in his life, one principle. He said, I will only defend people who he really believed had not done anything wrong. And he always told all his clients who came to him that if I am convinced that you have done right, then I will defend you, otherwise I will not. And if I find that you have lied to me or told me something which is incorrect, then I will also step out. So there was a case, and there was a person who, when he stood in the witness box, who Gandhiji was defending, actually said something which was incorrect in the witness box in front of the judge. And Gandhiji just stood up and told the judge that this is not correct and I want to withdraw from this case. And there was shock. Everybody said that how can a lawyer, you know lawyers how they are. They have to defend everybody, whatever it is right or wrong. So this word spread, and everybody said that this practice is finished and he's not going to go ahead anymore. But actually, the truth is that soon the reputation spread amongst all the judges and everybody in the judicial system that if Gandhi defended somebody, he would normally have been in the right. He'd already taken, and therefore more and more he started winning, and actually his practice grew. So what really teaches me in this is that if one has a value-driven practice, actually it increases economic value, and frankly his practice increased. And in some ways I've seen this also in the businesses that we are in. And this is one value thanks to, the spiritual contact that I've had with Maharaj here, that I've tried to imbibe. The first one I want to talk to you about is integrity. Integrity is really alignment between what you think, what you say, and what you do. And if people get that impression, or if we can really practice that, it actually makes economic sense. And let me give you some example. We entered the pharmaceutical business by acquiring a small multinational which was in India called Nicholas Laboratories. In a pharmaceutical business, there are two most important things. One is that you have to have a quality, and in a multinational you need to have the quality whatever is global because you use the same brand name. And second thing that we had also agreed upon when we acquired this business from the multinational was that we would not export in the same brand name because costs in India for drugs are much lower, and if you exported it in the same brand name as the international brand name, they would have lost their market share to us. So this was at a time when most other Indian companies were doing a lot of exports because India is known for exports of its drugs. And therefore and there was a fair amount, let me say, of temptation that we ought to do this export. But we realized that since we had committed to our partners, let's say, that we would not export, it would not be correct to do it. And you would have thought that that created a significant loss for us. But in reality, it did not happen. Because after that, there were many other multinationals who were willing, who wanted to exit out of India. And guess who would be the first person they would want to come to? It would be us. And it would come at invariably every acquisition that we did since then was at a price lower than what somebody else had offered. So besides being really feeling good about doing something that you had committed to, I think it just made more economic sense for us to do that. The other lesson that the Gita talks about is that we have to be fearless. And one of the things that really has allowed us to get into business and to do what we've done in business is really this courage that the Gita gives you. We were in the textile business, and that was a business which Rishikesh knows better than I do. It's going through a difficult time in the 70s and 80s. We had a big strike, labor problems, which was an industry-wise strike, and huge challenges. At a time when there were many challenges, we decided that let's diversify into pharmaceuticals. I think that was a pretty difficult decision to do, to enter into a business which you did not know about, to enter into a business at a time when you were otherwise financially stretched. So again, I think, and that created significant value for us in the long run, because pharmaceuticals was a growing sunrise industry. It grew, we could grow much more than we did in textiles. So in other words, again, if we just practice, because we practice what we learned in the Gita, we could do something different and create significant value. And I'm just reminded here of the quote of Vivekananda. Vivekananda says, "The earth is enjoyed by heroes. This is the unfailing truth. Be a hero, always say, I have no fear." We also see in the Mahabharata stories which Maharaj alluded to of so many challenges that people have had and how many of those challenges can be converted into opportunities. I want to give you another example of that. We had a plant which was manufacturing pharmaceuticals, which was right in the heart of Mumbai city. Manufacturing of pharmaceuticals in a heart of a residential area is really fraught with a lot of challenges. There are issues. If there is ever an explosion, there's an issue of safety, there's an issue of pollution, and your area is restricted. So you cannot really follow the international practices of quality and so on. And the costs are extremely high because in a city the costs are always higher. So here was a plant of ours which was actually creating a loss for us. And that's when we started thinking what we can do. And then we realized that there could be an opportunity. We could shut down the plant, move it out, and create, which was the first shopping mall in the country called Crossroads, which was quite, which became quite a phenomenon at that time, if I may say. So always there are challenges. I think how we convert it into opportunities is what we've learned. And I think that's what distinguishes from anybody who's doing average and who can do better. It's the same in textiles. We had a big challenge in the textile business, but we moved out and went into pharmaceuticals. If there was no challenge, there would have been no new pharmaceutical business for us. Maharaj often talks about dispassionate, passionate. How do you remove yourself? How do you keep yourself composed? And I think I want to give you an example again on that. We built our pharmaceutical business very passionately for more than 20 years. So a business which in 1988 we ranked 48th in the industry amongst all pharmaceutical companies in India. We became third 20 years later. So, and put in a lot of passion in it, a lot of hard work. But at that time, there was a very interesting, or there was a very attractive offer by a multinational to acquire part of our business. So what is the role that we should do? Should we give it up, or should we sell it, or should we continue to remain? That was the thought that in our minds. And when you looked at it dispassionately, we found that it made much more economic sense for us to actually dispose it of. And if we looked at our role, again Maharaj spoke about it today, if we looked upon our role as really trustees, mere trustees of the wealth that was given to us, our job was to see that how we could maximize the returns to our beneficiaries without keeping our personal benefit in mind. And that's why we decided to sell that business, because we felt that the returns that we were getting out of selling it was much higher than what we could have got by making it. So in spite of our ego being involved in it, in spite of our name being attached to it, we said that it's better to sell. We've always learned from the Gita that we have to really concentrate on the action and be away from or not worry too much about the results, because results are just action in another form. I think without exaggeration, I found that it has been the most powerful message and actually delivers the best results in the end. So it really helps you focus on what is important to be done. And if we focus our action on it, obviously the result is better. And to give you again an example, we were negotiating, I talked about this instance when we were selling off part of our pharmaceutical business, and we were negotiating with the Abbott, which is the US multinational. During the negotiations, we found that there was a lot of pressure being put on us by obviously the legal team of Abbott to try and yield, and unfairly we thought, because they said that if you don't do this, the deal will fall through and that whatever you are expecting, you will not get. I think all throughout that, I was very clear that we will do what is right and we will do it right to the fullest. We will take whatever action it is to what we have said, but we are not going to compromise further. If the deal goes, it goes. And frankly, it did not. We got the deal as we wanted. And one of the things that the Abbott senior team told me later on is that we were very surprised how y'all did not yield to the pressure. But it is only because of this learning from the Gita that it is the action that is important. It is not the result. The results will follow. I think I could see that in action actually, that playing out in front of me. And I have seen it repeatedly after that and even before that, that if we really focus on the action, it does mean that you will get a better result. Maharaj spoke about satsang and the influence of good people. I think, at least I believe that again that has been a very, very important part. All of us, the slope is slippery, and very often once you get onto that slippery slope, it's very difficult to actually, stop the slide. It's only when we have the association of good people that who can tell you no, whether it's good people on your business, in your board of directors, or with your advisors, or of course with spiritual masters. I think so that again, I have found that has really been very practical advice that we have been able to use, and very often, which otherwise would have been a wrong decision, we've been able to correct it, or we could have gone towards a wrong decision, has not happened. And I think these are just some of the examples that I wanted to share with you to say that how we have been able to really apply all these principles that have been taught to us in our spiritual texts or in real life. I want to give you the other example of how we all talk about, or the spiritual texts talk about, how humility is important. Again, I've found that it's rare very often, especially in the American style of business, that if you are a CEO, you're not supposed to be humble. You have to establish your presence. You have to show your power. That's what gives people recognition. But on the other hand, I found that actually the more humble you are, I think it's better. It helps you to get the best advice. People are willing to come and talk to you and tell you what is right, tell you that if some things are wrong. And people actually like you more as a human being. We all like people who are more humble, but I think, again, that practice itself, I found, has really that advice that our scriptures gives us has also been very useful. And finally, the Gita and Maharaj talked about how we are just mere caretakers of the wealth that is there. Again, that's such a very powerful message of compassion, how we have been privileged to be what we are as human beings. And if we can do something for the rest of the world, again, that's such a good thought. So this is what I thought I'll share with you. And At least I've found that everything that is really said, if we can implement, it's not only Yudhishthir Maharaj who did it, but even if in our lives we do it, at least I've found that life has been a better way to do it. That's all I thought I'll share with you. Thank you.